we were on a shoot, and probably the weirdest, most uncomfortable thing that could possibly ever happen.
My face went
Look at your face is purple right now. So did mine. I was... This person said something, and Christian and I just went purple, and we're like...
I actually laughed.
Huh?
And it was not funny at all. It was one of those things that when it happens, you're supposed to pretend like you didn't hear it.
But we heard it so loud. We can't tell you what it is. But then, most awkward thing someone could possibly say to you, and then I have to walk over and mic this person up. So I'm like...
Oh.
And it was funny, we didn't bring it up, and then you were driving me back to my car, and I was like...
By the way!
I've never seen you turn so purple.
What is up, Watch Fam? I am Christian, the curator of the Theo and Harris Watch Shop.
My name is Michael. This video is sponsored by Squarespace. You need a website or domain or both.
More on them later. Okay, so if you're new to the channel, Michael and I take a kind of podcast format, right? Podcast style, very long, conversational. We are ultimately going to be getting to the point or the discussion of watch trends going into 2023.
Yes.
Not just watch expectations and what watches we're going to see manufactured.
That's for later.
That's for later. But which watches are going to be more popular? What are we going to see more of? And bigger question, why?
Yes.
Why are things changing?
Yeah.
It's very interesting and it's huge. And once you hear it, you're going to say, I get it.
Those are the smartest guys I've ever watched on YouTube in my life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But until then, we're going to take a long and winding road. We're going to talk about Rolex and Tudor. We're going to talk about Piaget and a bracelet that I'm not a big fan of.
Yep.
And a couple other things. Tag, Cartier, a bunch of stuff. So, let's do it.
Let's rage. Also, don't forget that our carrot competition is running right now. All you have to do is look at the link deeper in our bio. Click that, join our collaborative link, then go to any product page in the world.
Yep.
Right click, click add to carrot, or even if you add to cart, it will automatically add to carrot. And then just put it in our collaborative link, and you can win a strap. Easy peasy from the T&H Watch Shop.
Phenomenal, yeah. Super cool.
Contest ends March 3rd, so just a heads up. We'll remind you again. I know you have a pretty crazy watch that I'm surprised hasn't sold yet.
Yeah, this is an amazing watch. Tudor Monte Carlo. Tudor's big block chronograph was the affordable alternative to the Rolex Daytona.
Yes.
The funny thing is that the big block was introduced in 1974, and Rolex Daytonas were still manual. So this was the automatic, response. Yeah. Not only is it automatic and just a phenomenal watch in its build quality. I mean, it's really high quality watches.
Yeah.
But also because they were automatic, they were larger than Daytonas. So this watch is far more fit for a modern wrist.
What size is that?
Than a Daytona. It's 40, but it's thicker.
It is thicker.
This wears so well.
It's a classic. You could also see the Tudor lugs, or the Tudor side profile, I guess. Yes. It's very flat down.
Totally. So anyway, this is a phenomenal watch. The Monte Carlo was the exotic dial version. So the same way that the Rolex Daytona had the Paul Newman, which is the odd, detailed, stylistic dial, the exotic dial.
Yep.
Tudor had these Monte Carlos, which were the, exotic, oddball, more detailed, more colorful executions. They're incredibly cool, they're very rare. This one is in phenomenal condition. It is available in the Theo and Harris Watch Shop, and it's just it's freshly serviced. It's just in phenomenal condition. Definitely take a look at it if you're in the world of sports watches, you're in the world of Rolex sports watches, and you're looking for, I think, a great value prop. They're not cheap, around $15,000, but I think that they deliver a disproportionate amount of value. A $15,000 Monte Carlo is better than almost 10 times out of 10, better than a $20,000 Daytona, Rolex Daytona.
Is there any Rolex parts on that?
The whole thing is...
Yeah, it's interesting because, Rolex crown, Rolex case back. Obviously, the actual case is not Rolex. The bracelet is clearly an oyster with the Tudor logo on the front. That's my favorite thing about Tudor and Rolex way back when, is the fact that for a while it was like, just use the part. Keep the Rolex logo on. That's so weird. You get a Tudor, and I remember when I first got my first Tudor, which is in college, The best part about it was that it was so weird.
Yeah.
Because it's clearly stamped Rolex. It's not like a blanked out case.
No.
So you have a Rolex crown,
the crown
Rolex bracelet,
it's
Rolex
just Rolex parts.
Way back then, it's just one of those things we talked about where it's like, what a weird collaboration.
Totally. And it would never happen today.
No, not at all. Because Hans Wilsdorf was like, well, it just needs to be, the movement needs to change.
Yeah.
So we'll change the brand, but everything else is just going to be Rolex.
Yeah.
We want the same quality, so let's have the stamp.
Exactly.
Crown and shield.
Exactly.
So cool.
This phenomenal watch available in the Owner's Watch Shop. Definitely go ahead and take a closer look. Even if you're not an interested buyer, just go look at the photos because the watch is just absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
What are you wearing?
am wearing a Zodiac Super Seawolf GMT Pro Diver watch,
nice.
which I did not expect to love because of the case size. It's 42 millimeters. But it doesn't wear like that.
It wears really well.
I'd say it wears like a... I mean, it wears like a 42, but it looks like a 40 almost, I think, because of the bezel and everything like that.
Yeah.
I love this watch.
Yeah, I think it's great.
I like it actually better than just a regular Zodiac Seawolf. I feel like it wears beautifully. This is steel DLC coated, so over time it will kind of scratch up and chip away, which is cool. Sapphire bezel, GMT hand, 300 meters water resistance. It's chronometer. Crazy.
Amazing. Yeah,
I think it's fantastic. Looks very tactical.
And it's
Our friend TJ would love it.
$2,300.
$2,300.
Yeah,
so,
a lot to watch.
If this is something that you were interested in, you can check out our good friends over at Huckberry.
Yes.
Link in the description. But what a fantastic watch. We received both, but this one just blew me away so much.
Yeah, I love the pop of orange too. I mean, you know, you're looking for submariner alternatives, like sports watch, dive watch alternatives from a brand with heritage.
For $2,300?
$2,300. It's great. I think that the fact that Huckberry does have a modern, affordable watch shop, I think is very cool. So props to Huckberry.
Yeah,
big
agreed.
time.
Before we get into trends, I just wanted to, very briefly, this is rapid fire stuff, we don't even have to get into it.
Yep.
The Tag Heuer Aqua Racer 200 Solargraph came out, which is very cool. It's titanium.
Solar watch?
Yes, solar watch.
Very cool.
The Hodinkee article, again, is written, you know, like they work with Tag, which is like this revolutionary thing from Tag.
Yeah.
The big hubbub is like,
it's
a $50 movement in a $3,000 watch.
Right.
But I think the watch looks cool.
Yeah.
That's the part that screws me up so much. I think that looks fantastic.
Yeah.
A lot of people were like, you can get a Citizen titanium diver with the same movement, but I'm like, it doesn't look like that.
Right, but
you
know,
cool. It
you
doesn't
can
have the
get
same finishing.
You can get a good look at a T-bone by shoving your head up a cow's ass, but when you rather take the butcher's word for it? The butcher is Bernard Arnault.
You're gonna be a disaster when you're 75 because those will have been in your head so long.
All dead.
Oh God.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely. I mean, I can understand why, in a very factual, very real way, that watch is overpriced. I can understand that.
That's so cool.
That being said, it's a cool watch.
Yep.
I like it. I actually like solar technology.
I like it. I think it gets me somewhere other things haven't yet.
Yeah. I like solar technology. I think it's more. I think it's more interesting and more poetic than quartz for some reason. I just do.
Yeah.
I love the Must Cartier solar beats, which were discontinued, by the way. We never got ours.
What?
They're discontinued. Yep, no more.
Why?
They couldn't.
Too successful?
No, they couldn't. The something with the supply chain, like. They had a hard time getting off, and then they could never. The Cartier, the Musta tanks,
no
whatever.
way.
Very cool watches. They just technologically, I suppose, they just couldn't get the movements. They couldn't get the parts needed.
Wow.
And they're not coming from America. These are coming from China.
Oh, what a shame.
Yeah, I know.
That's such an exciting release.
I know, I love that release. So that will happen to this eventually,
too. Fantastic. Well,
Yeah.
that's great to know.
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, well, that got discontinued, so obviously we can't service it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, oh,
Oh,
great. Yeah, get out of here.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on very quickly. New Piaget.
yes.
Which this ties into the trends of 2023. Not this modern Piaget, but Piaget in a huge part.
What do you think my thoughts on this watch are?
It looks like every other watch in this area. No, you know what? I think
What are
it
my
could have
thoughts on
been
this
that you
watch?
commented this. It seems a bit of luck of the draw, which integrated sports watch from the past works nowadays.
So here's how I feel about this watch.
Yep.
It's very cool. I think it's well executed.
Yeah.
Why haven't you fixed the bracelet yet? You did all of this to create this cool, interesting looking perpetual calendar with a really beautiful dial color, millions in R&D, and your bracelet, in my opinion, is still subpar.
Too thick. Doesn't taper.
It doesn't taper. It has no proportion. I think it's wrong. I think the bracelet is wrong. And the rest of the watch is right. So it's a shame.
You like the shape of the case.
Not particularly, but that's their new polo. I also don't know why they had to use the word polo. It is
not the polo.
Nothing to do with it. I just bought a polo. I love the polo. It has nothing to do with the polo. Why the fuck are we calling it a polo?
I also think this is, people are like, oh, it's another Genta alternative. This looks like if Genta didn't have like the gall to add that industrial edge.
Yeah.
Like he drew the AP and he's like, but it's too angular, and like softened it and took the screws away.
Yeah, well, which is the Nautilus, really, but this is even softer than the Nautilus. It's softer than the Nautilus, and then so is it an Aquanaut? It's a lot of weird things.
And then it doesn't have, well, at least this one doesn't have a high water resistance. Yeah. So it's not the Nautilus.
It's not the Nautilus. It's not the Aquanaut. Yeah. To me, though, the bracelet is the real shame. That watch, to me, there's no reason to buy that watch. For the same reason that there are so many Patek annual calendars that I adore, 5035 I think is the reference, that it's great. It's a great watch. They did a great job with it. Why is the date window so poorly executed? Like you worked so hard to do so much, and you made a beautiful, beautiful, pretty highly complicated watch that you can get now for around $25,000, which is a lot of money, but it's a really good value right, at that price point. That's what a Daytona costs, and you can get a complicated Patek in precious metal. Phenomenal, but to me, it is a fucking eyesore. With this, if I had to buy that watch, I would probably
cut your wrist off.
I know. I'd probably put it on a strap. I would probably put it on a strap.
It look pretty fresh on the strap, though.
Is it steel?
Yeah, stainless steel.
Stainless steel. Yeah.
At least it's stainless.
Well, no, I hate stainless steel. Exactly. There's not going to be a stain. Okay, so it's an ultra thin. Okay, I mean,
ultra thin.
Going back on my remark a little bit, because it's ultra thin, the bracelet is clearly thinner. Okay, so the word isn't thinness. It doesn't have the taper. It has too much width. So this is a really interesting example, guys, of the photos. I don't think are doing a very good job. Wow, I'm gonna say something that undermines a lot of what I've said at T&H for years. When I said I can review a watch off of photos and specs, I can basically tell you a pretty informed opinion. I can tell you right now that the Piaget Polo is an exception. In the photos, the bracelet looks much more refined than it is in real life. The Piaget Polo has an unrefined bracelet in real life, and a lot of the photos, it looks way better. That photo makes it look bad. Yep. That is an accurate photo. That's the photo. That's what the bracelet looks like in real life. It has no dimension to it. It's not finished that well, and it has no dimensions.
You could see it. As always, on photos that aren't from Piaget or like blessed by Piaget. You're like, that's not really that good of a picture.
100%.
Yeah.
That's where it all falls apart. Because the Piaget photos look great.
And then you come into this photo where there's some hard light on it, and you see that the curves are oddly there. Wow.
I'm telling you guys, I'm not trying to be like a nitpicky jerk off here, but
you?
Yeah, but the Piaget Polo is a cool watch. It's unoriginal completely, which I don't like from a high end brand. But the bracelet takes away all the value prop, in my view. And I'm sure some of you are wearing the Piaget Polo right now, and I'm sorry for making you feel bad, but just tell me to go f*** myself in the comments.
This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Are you looking for a website or domain to be a business card, to be a just blog, to start a business? Anything. Squarespace is the place for you.
Yeah, and it's not just for people that are launching a business. That is, of course, of great value. If you're launching a business, then use Squarespace because they're so intuitive and their designs are so great. I built my business on the back of Squarespace. But also, if you are currently in business with a website, it is of high likelihood that your website is nowhere near as functional or beautiful as it could be if you spent a little bit of time and put your trust in Squarespace.
Yes.
I really feel that way.
Yeah.
So don't just start new businesses and use Squarespace. Transition your current sites over to Squarespace because they are that good.
Update them faster. Change how they look basically immediately. They'll be dynamic. People are working very hard for your themes to look good because that means they do better. So combine that and get an amazing looking website.
Squarespace themes, which are basically the templates that you can build your website off of, literally look like websites that would cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
That's how good they are. And they are beautiful.
If you're going to redesign your website, which you should every once in a while, you don't even have to like start from scratch. You could be like, oh, okay, well, I want this from that, this from that, this from that. Yep. Or you find the perfect one and make it immediately.
I wouldn't be where I am today as an entrepreneur if it hadn't been for Squarespace. I say that with no contest. I adore the brand. I was a user of Squarespace before we became a partner. I highly recommend you go over to Squarespace, make an account, and begin either your new business or online profile or transition your current over there.
Yeah.
Go ahead and do that. You won't be sorry.
So if you're interested in a website or domain, Squarespace is the place to go, and you can save some moolah by using our code Theo Harris. You'll save 10%.
That's it.
Yes.
Thank you to Squarespace.
2023 trends. Hodinki's been writing some articles about them, and people have been loving them. And by that I mean the comment section has been hating them and saying these are fake plugs to boost your watch shop and stuff like that.
Interesting. I'm actually not aware of all that.
Which, yeah, it doesn't... I feel bad for writers on Hodinki sometimes because I'm like, I don't know, like, he's predicting some things that I think you would agree with, like the return of the jewelry watch, which we'll get into.
Oh, yeah. And I have a lot of thoughts on that now.
Shifting Rolex, like, thoughts and stuff like that. But this poor guy, Anthony Traina, do you know him?
Yeah, I've met him before.
Poor guy in the comments.
Yeah. He was really, really nice. I don't know him personally. He did an interview once. Super, super nice guy, in the hour that we spoke. And it doesn't. I didn't read this article, but it does not surprise me that people treated him poorly because people are so mean.
Oh my
god! If you've ever put anything on the internet, people are so mean.
And maybe you got away with it on like the first few times you put something on the internet, but eventually something just pops up.
Even I when I see a creator or even like an individual that's creating, right, like just posting on Instagram, I have never commented anything disparaging. No. I've looked at you and been like, oh, look at this jerk off.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, he's so obnoxious, so fucking gratuitous, so indulgent.
He's so indulgent.
but I never comment anything. But Hodinki gets treated unfairly.
Ripped apart. I think this is a great article. She's saying some things that we'll definitely talk about and agree with. This is the timeline of this jewelry hype phase that's happening with Rolex, that's happening with Piaget that I've seen. Brief mention of it on Hodinki. Kind of dime piece mentioning it a little bit more. You saying, I really want to get XYZ type watch, which is, actually, honestly, for you, it's nothing's ever changed. This small gold watch. But, that's kind of like the small little growth I've seen. And now I'm seeing it front page and center on Hodinki articles. I'm seeing it on my Instagram Explorer page. The Rolex King Midas, the Piaget, the original Polo. I'm seeing that a ton. You have this Concord watch right here, too. Is that in the shop?
This is my personal watch.
Wow. Is it gold?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. These small jewelry wristwatches, and we'll get into a bigger discussion of how that is very symbolic of the watch world maturing.
Yep.
Because the watch world is not a new thing. That's a very dumb thing to say. But seeing this explosive growth.
It's very young.
That is very young.
Yes. A very large segment of the watch community is now turning 3. And 4.
Yes, that's a great way of saying that.
The watch world is 100 and something, 200 years old.
This new movement of like basically any guy on the street will be like, oh, is that the new Tudor Black Bay? That's very new.
Yes.
We're young, but in college, no one.
We've been in this for a while.
I'd wear Tudors and Rolexes, nothing.
100%.
The rich foreign kid
would
be like, oh, check this out. And he'd have like $80,000 watch. But he's also not into watches.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's funny. You had those rich foreign kids that just like came in with a ton of money.
We
had that too. It was so weird. They were always from, I don't know where they were from. Were they Chinese? I don't really know.
Asia in general.
They were always Asian, yeah. And they had so much money. It was wild. More at my sister's school. My sister went to private school, and they had remarkable watches before anyone had watches.
Yep.
And they were all with Maseratis. I'm like, you're 18.
Oh yeah.
And you didn't have a Ghibli.
The president of my
college
would fly out to their parents' houses to like have dinner with them, and I was like, wow, you're on another level.
That's wild.
And you know what? Then they all graduated. Great realization of like, all of my friends and I are on the same level, and then we all graduate, and Taylor are the only ones that have to get a job.
Yeah.
And everybody else just continues to go out to restaurants and stuff, and I'm like,
oh, that's right.
Wait, this is where it gets hard.
You just have a bankroll forever.
One of my friends just moved to New York and became a painter. I was like, how'd you do that? He's like, dude, I'm grinding.
I'm grinding.
That's fresh.
Painting,
That's great.
man.
That's great.
Yeah,
but that was a big college experience. But yeah, that was it.
So it's the same thing that everyone goes through. You're interested in the obvious stuff. Ben Clymer did an article about years ago about Rolex specifically, but you find Rolex, you think it's the greatest thing in the world, then you hate Rolex because you realize that Rolex is simple compared to everything else that's out there, and you hate Rolex, and then you slowly begin to appreciate the beauty and the importance of Rolex again. That's a very common Rolex journey. Right?
I used to always say to people that just got into photography, because I've been doing photography since like 6th, 7th grade, I'd be like, you're like fascinated with taking pictures of people's pupils or like irises because it's so pretty.
Exactly.
Then you go landscapes. Yeah. Then you go like trips, and then you really only go portraits of people in memory. Totally. And then you barely bring a camera with you.
Exactly.
It's that cycle. It's with any hobby.
Yes, a large segment of the watch community is turning 4. And 5. They're no longer interested in the same things that they were interested in when they turned 1, which was largely. It was mainstream Daytonas.
Yeah,
Daytonas subs, those are great watches, and you'll love them forever.
The classic watches that you see and know, yeah.
But for how many fucking years am I going to chase the same boring Panda? And I love the Panda, but grow up.
And then I go to an event, and everybody has a Royal Oak, a Nautilus, Daytona.
Yeah, totally.
How many times am I going to look at the same configuration?
Exactly. Yeah. I have a friend. You're listening out there, and he started off with a Datejust, right? Mm-hmm. This was a guy that had way more money than Datejust, you know?
Yeah.
But he bought a Datejust.
Because they're just amazing.
It's a phenomenal watch.
Yep.
And that was like, it wasn't a lot of money to him, but it was a lot of money to spend on a watch. Like it was one of his, it was one of his expensive watches.
Sure.
And then he got into the next thing. Within a year and a half, he was into MB&Fs and he was into like super big whatever independents.
Yeah.
And your taste just explodes, and then it continues to be a journey because then you realize, okay, the independents are amazing. That's great. I love that. Mm-hmm. But there is something truly important and truly honest about a platinum date.
Yeah, you just mess yourself up.
Yes, totally. And you're like, why do I have this artwork over there? Like, why do I have this art piece MB&F?
Yeah.
When what I really want is a 3940 Patek Philippe.
Yeah.
Like what?
And it never ends because you're like, well, why? Like right now, and I'm assuming it'll be for a long time. Like, I really have very little interest in Rolex and Omega or anything like that. I have my Zenith. I'm wearing this right now. I'm like, what is the next watch I can get that isn't Rolex? It's just like I want a cool, respected brand that I could take with me.
I know what I think that you need.
Yeah.
I think that you would love and you would need like, really, it's something like that, which is like the green, preferably PVD like Hoyers.
Yeah, so cool.
That would be it for you forever. You would beat the shit out of it. It would be scratched to hell. And
so
that
cool.
is phenomenal.
Maybe I'll do that tonight.
Who
knows?
I know. They're amazing.
But like that's what's starting to get more and more attractive to me. I'm like, that's just weird. Yeah. It's weird, and I know like it's a small brand, and it's cool to take that with me.
Totally.
But I've been doing it again. Much people have done it for much longer, but I've been doing this since end of high school.
Yep.
So now, what is that? How old am I?
At least 3 years.
People are like, wait, how old is Michael? You're like, he's 20. So at least 9 years I've been at least looking at watches. So you start to mix it up.
Exactly. So, okay, I've gone through this. I've gone through this before. I'll go through it again. And I'll give credit where credit is due.
Sure.
And none of it goes to Hodinkee. Literally zero.
Okay, got it.
People love watches because of Hodinkee. Hodinkee has done a great job as an evangelist in the watch world. There's no question.
Yeah.
Hodinkee promotes fairly pedestrian watches very, very often.
Because clicks.
Because of clicks. Yes. Hodinkee, it's kind of predictable. Even their vintage taste is predictable.
Of course.
It's basically the same vintage stuff again and again. Yeah, when you've got like John Goldberger come on, it gets interesting, no doubt.
Of course, yeah.
But generally speaking, it's not that. It's fairly predictable. Okay.
A foot in the water, that's unique. I buy that from the Hodinkee shop.
Exactly.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yep. Now, I think that I really did bring in an interesting perspective into the watch world, specifically as it pertained to undesirable gold watches that are really have historically been worth their gold weight. I would say that. I've always loved gold watches that I saw my uncles wear. right? My uncles didn't wear jeans. The word jeans didn't even enter their fucking vocabulary. They wore slacks, okay? And they didn't wear a Rolex Submariner.
Right.
Okay, if they had a Rolex, which they didn't, it was a Cellini.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But they wore Concord, they wore Cartier, they wore things like this. They're not all dead. I mean, they still, still alive, you know? And that was very common of many cultures, ours, Italian-American, metropolitan culture, outer borough culture. That's what rich looked like. That's what a gentleman looked like. So I grew up with that idea. And I worked pretty hard to reject it throughout my life because it's not cool.
Yep.
And girls don't want to see you wear that watch because it's weird and you should just have a Daytona.
Too small. Yeah,
it's
right.
weird. Why are you wearing that? It's stupid.
It's for babies.
But I always wanted them and I would wear them on holidays when I bought them. And every once in a while you'd see me out with one, right? Like every once in a while. And now, I don't know why. I mean, in the last 2 years, I've started to be like, I'll just wear it. Like, I just like it. I'm wearing it, and it's kind of cool. You know.
Yeah.
It was not me that has pushed it over the edge, though. That I 100%. Like I definitely started talking about it. I think I'm a pioneer of it. But again, I'm giving a lot of credit to Bryn from Timepiece these days. Timepiece, and she again didn't push it all the way over. She's not a miracle worker, but she's done a very good job at.
It's modern, trendy. You're on Instagram.
100%.
Your captions are very modern, trendy. Yep. Yeah. So now it was like you set it up, and it was like this is a guy from New Jersey. He's kind of doing this, and then this like cool New York girl is being like, oh, check out like this guy wearing this, and it's like, and then it comes back.
And so I mean, and I'm not using this word in a nasty way by any means. So I don't care about it at all.
You really just say a terrible word.
I don't mean it at all, but like we have the culture. This is my culture, and she has shared, which I think is a good thing, that culture and how it's been appropriated by people of all different races and culture, and that's amazing. I have no problem with cultural appropriation. Like I really mean it, and that's where I was going. Like I think that's great that some kid that moved to the East Village wants to wear a Piaget polo now. Like I don't care. It doesn't matter that she's from the culture. That's great that she adopted it. She adopted the gaudy 1970s casino Sam Rothstein culture. That's fucking cool. It
exploded. It went off.
Yes, and without those people, I don't think that the culture would have ever gotten it wouldn't have gotten popular. Right. Right. So I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
I think it's sharing what is interesting and beautiful, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's sharing. It's not stealing. So I think they've done a great job. Michael B. Jordan did a great job. That guy's been wearing a Piaget polo for like 2 years now. Yeah. While he was a Piaget spokesperson, he wouldn't even wear a new Piaget. He would wear the polo.
I honestly can't blame him.
I can't blame him either. Who the wants a new polo? The vintage ones are way better.
You just got one, but you grab it and you're just like, this is amazing.
It's 136 grams of 18-karat yellow gold.
So heavy. And it's not a good watch.
Yeah, it's just a quartz watch.
It's good, yeah.
But the construction quality, that's where the value is.
And then you immediately see, like, I see why this was popular. It's, what's the watch every girl that has a Cartier wears? Panther. It's why, like, you see, like, Elaine from Seinfeld wears it. They wear it in Friends. Like, the Panther's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
It's a small, gaudy watch that you don't really think about. It's quartz. And then Piaget did it, and then that kind of went away. But now when you think about it, you're like, yeah, of course. That's what everybody in, like, the fancy part of New York is wearing when they're walking their dog in the morning. Yeah,
yes. Every
like,
rich woman.
Like, just, like, pulled back like that. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
And it's like, well, that old woman now that everybody was like, don't wear fur, don't wear this, don't wear that. Now it's, like, shifting to being like, well, you probably shouldn't still wear fur, but everything else is like fantastic.
And it's a really good point too, because what platforms like Bryn and like a lot of folks have done is taking this piece of jewelry, because these are more jewelry pieces than watches, and they're not, okay, they're being worn as jewelry, okay, and they're contextualizing them in modern clothing, whereas my uncles didn't contextualize them in modern clothing.
That's so true. And we've both met Bryn. I'm intimidated by Bryn.
I'm not. Why would I? She's super sweet. She's super nice.
No. Not Bryn the person, but what Bryn knows. Like Dime Square. We didn't know what Dime Square was.
I still think that you're trolling me with that.
It's not. It's true.
I think you are f***ing me with Dime Square. I think this is not a thing.
Okay. Where Doomsday Prepper meets Dime Square Hypebeast. That's the intimidating factor where I'm like...
What does that mean? Is it after her? Do they name it after her?
No. That would be wild. But apparently, this is what I know about Dime Square. There's a popular bar called Dimes that recently, like, a lot of people would go to. It's like the trendy place.
Where is it?
Wow, let's see.
Okay.
Let me just Google what is Dimes Square. Dimes Square is a nickname for a so-called micro-neighborhood of Manhattan, roughly located between Chinatown and Lower East Side neighborhoods.
I guess that makes sense, yeah.
The nickname originates from the restaurant Dimes, located at the intersection of Canal Street and Division
I thought
Street.
you were f***ing me with this. I really thought you were just... Serious. Wow.
Yeah. So that's what I find. I'm like...
I feel like my grandfather, like... Dumbo. Which Dumbo?
He opens the door. He is like, talking about? You don't know Dimes?
Yeah. What is
Your mother's sick, by the way. Have a drink, some coffee.
Yeah, right. Oh, my God.
No, but that's the intimidating part where I'm like...
Nolita? The f*** out of
You
here.
go into this culture now, and it's like, no, you don't even know what area you're in.
Yeah.
You say you're in Canal, you're near Dimes. I'm like, what?
What the f*** are you talking about?
That's where I'm like, you have so much knowledge. And that's why...
she's plugged into culture, for sure. I think it also doesn't help that she doesn't drink. I don't remember anything that happens.
I don't drink either.
Yeah, I think that you guys have a big advantage over me.
But what's interesting is she's a cultural leader in this world, and I'm not.
Yeah.
What is that?
What is that? So I think that's an amazing thing. Michael B. Jordan has done a super cool job as well. He was before Dime Piece, obviously, but she definitely kind of captured that. I think she captured that kind of message and shared it.
I forget his name. I'm so sorry. He watches our videos. He was at the Grand Seiko event, and he was telling me about this, and he was like, what Bryn has successfully done is like girls that have graduated college recently now are walking through New York with King Midas Rolexes on.
Yeah.
Like, that's what she's done successfully.
Yeah.
And they don't care about it, but that's cool right now.
Right.
But, like, that's what's going... Like, all of a sudden, you may have, like, a 23-year-old girl on the T&H watch shop. Like, looking at watches, looking for the dainty watch.
Which is huge for the vintage watch market.
Which is huge. It's massive.
It's massive.
Because it's also... The whole thing of the Cartier tank was, like, it doesn't matter if it doesn't work. It feels like it's the same way. It's
the same way.
Like, do you have a broken Piaget Polo and can I get it cheaper?
Yeah.
It's like...
I love it. I love it.
But...
As with everything,
yeah.
You start to say, it's like, who are the only... It's the same thing with avocados, right? My dad always says, who grew up in like this poor, Spanish neighborhood, he always says... We're the only ones that liked avocado, and now we're the only ones that can't afford avocado.
Yeah,
which is true.
Yeah,
it's like you guys liked it, and we love that you love our cooking.
Yeah,
but you the prices up now, and now this is bullshit, which will definitely happen with these gold watches.
No doubt.
You used to be able to get them basically for gold weight, basically, not exactly, but basically, and now they're going to go up, and they're going to go up, and they're going to go up, and people that say, "Oh, I would never wear a watch. I mean, it's cool, but I could never wear it." They're going to start to see a lot of people that they admire wear them, and they're going to say, "Oh, I could wear it.
Yeah,
I could wear that. That's
Michael
cool."
B. Jordan looks sick in this.
But you just need much better style to like. Yeah, you need good style. Like
exactly. Yeah.
Otherwise, you can't do it because it's so weird that unless you have good style, you'll never pull it off.
Yeah.
Michael B. Jordan killed it.
Oh yeah.
He's also built like a brick shit house.
Oh yeah.
I look at him, I'm like, why does the polo look different on him than on me? I'm like, oh yeah, he has biceps.
You're in the mirror being like, what version of the watch does he have?
Yeah. It's not the fact that
he compliments you. He's like, yours is so much better than mine. You're like, it
is.
There's gotta be something weird.
I'm like, are your arms swollen? Are you all right?
Are you okay?
Can I ask what you eat?
You look huge.
Oh, you don't eat 3 meatballs for lunch every day? You're kidding. Oh, you work out more than once a month? You're kidding.
I'm just standing behind him like this. I'm like, do you think Porsche design will be cool next?
Yeah. Prediction is yes. These gold watches are going to be more popular. People are going to be more comfortable wearing yellow gold. Women are going to be wearing interesting watches much more often.
Yep.
And it's because of a few things, but mostly it's because a large percentage of watch collectors are now turning 3 and 4.
And we actually had this conversation with, you met Thierry Stern, by the way.
You
shook his hand. You talked to him for a very long time.
I actually talked to him for longer than most people.
I was recording Christian. I recorded a bunch of people meeting Thierry Stern and everything. And then Christian was talking to him. And I just, eventually I put the camera down.
Yeah.
Because you actually got into conversation.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is...
Because everyone's going up and shaking his hand and being super polite. And he was incredibly polite. Yeah. I basically walked up to him and said, Mr. Stern, it's an honor to meet you. My name is Christian. And I'm just in awe of what you and your family have accomplished, and you have a lot to be proud of. And that's it. I'm just very enamored by that.
Then he put some ash on his thumb and did the Patek logo
exactly. And he was like, yeah, I mean, it feels, I think he said like there's weight to it. There's weight to it. And it is just really cool. I mean,
it's a cool thing to say.
Because if you just talk about like the Nautilus or how you're a billionaire, this isn't an interesting conversation.
Me too.
But yeah.
He's like, so
what I really wanted to ask him, and I didn't, and if we talked for a little bit longer, I would have, was what are you drinking? Because he had a glass. He was drinking red wine.
Yeah.
The party was drinking Prosecco, and he was drinking red wine. And I would bet you anything that what was in that glass was very, very special. I bet you he wasn't drinking, regular
He's drinking from a bag.
Yeah. He wasn't drinking Franzia. Like that. He was probably drinking something incredibly special.
Oh, he had to go to the back and get. Oh, because that's where he went. Yeah.
Well, no, they were bringing him.
Oh, they were bringing him.
Wow.
And it was pretty fancy.
This was special wine. I'm sure it was.
Wow. Anyways, though, a very important thing was said to you at that event. We were talking to a couple there, and the man and wife both had an interest in watches, and the man said to you, like, she, I forget what watch she had, but she had an amazing watch, and he was like, but watches are like, my watches are my thing. Yeah. She'll never get a cooler watch. So if all of a sudden she's wearing a King Midas, he has to change the game.
Yeah.
Which, like, if women are getting more popular, if women are wearing more crazy watches, all of a sudden, you don't want to feel like an ogre next to someone with your, with your submariner on.
Exactly.
You're like, oh, I'm the watch
guy. The same way that significant others, and in this case, a woman to a man, would, and I wasn't doing that to be inclusive. I was doing that because it's sex, and whoever you're having sex with.
We went to basically an event built for me, all about denim and heavy outerwear and stuff like that. Very cool people there.
I just pictured a room of people putting oil on their face.
People are all covering themselves in olive oil. I've got to look like him.
This is enough you.
But we go to this event, and I'm decked out in like what I think are the coolest jeans, the coolest jacket, everything that those people would eat up. Taylor goes in like a acrylic fur jacket, and nothing that fits. Everybody was all about Taylor.
Yeah.
And I was just like, and if this transfers to the watch world, I'm standing there like an idiot, being like, wait a minute, but this is. You're my community.
Yeah.
So next time I go, you change everything.
I know. And the funny thing about, getting your partner into watches. So I basically never talk about watches with Sally. Yeah. Right? Basically never. She knows that I have a Breguet that I wore on our first date that I won't sell because, it's our first date watch, even though sometimes I look at it and I'm like, that's 20-something grand that's sitting there. I don't really wear that watch that much, you know.
And she's like, oh, please.
Yeah, so, it's whatever. But we don't talk about it that much. Mm-hmm. But in the last week or 2 weeks, because I was looking for the polo, we did talk about it a little bit, and we had fun talking about it. Like, it was actually fun with the obscure stuff. Yeah. We were actually looking at listings, together, for 10 minutes. It wasn't for a while.
Yeah.
We were also watching old Theo Harris videos and making fun of me.
That's hysterical.
Which was great. But the point I'm trying to get at is, it is cool when your partner gets into the thing that you're into.
Oh, yeah.
And you often find yourself, and you even more than I, saying, great, now I'm going to give you something that is really special.
Yes,
Like you gave Taylor a beautiful Cartier tank. Yeah. I haven't given Sally a watch, but I gave my mom a beautiful yellow gold Datejust not that long ago, just like a week ago, Because I'm like, I want to see it on your wrist.
Exactly.
I
just think it's so cool that you're wearing that.
Exactly.
And Taylor will never understand that. I'm like, no, I think it's so cool that you have that watch on right now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. She's standing there in lingerie, and you're like, the watch is incredible.
I'm like, I just can't get over how good the tank looks on your wrist.
So cause of the reason for divorce, irreconcilable differences. But yeah, so that's a slippery slope. The guy Rob the other night basically was like, I don't want to get her this crazy Aquanaut yet rose gold, because then she'll have a cooler watch than me, and it's kind of my thing. Like, I want a thing, Yeah. And I was like, yeah, but if she actually wants it, are you going to tell her no? And he's like, probably not.
Probably not. Have you seen her wedding ring?
Yeah, have you seen her wedding ring? Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course I'm not going to say no, But it's also with watches, again, then it's the jewelry thing. Well, I don't know. The engagement ring thing, it depends on the kind of guy, I don't know. I would be much more excited to spend money on a watch for my girlfriend than it's not even close.
Taylor was like, instead of an engagement ring, get me a Piaget Polo, like solid gold vintage. I'd be like, okay. Does it need to work? She'd be like, does what need to work? I'd be like, exactly.
The bracelet?
I mean, yeah, it can't fall off my wrist.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right.
So, yeah. Anyway, are there any other predictions for the year? Yeah.
There's the general ones like anti-trends, basically people being like, listen, we're sick of seeing the classic watches we see everywhere. 90s, 80s, rarer watches, less conventional things. It's exactly basically
everything below the surface.
What we summed up. No more or less of this is my Daytona.
Yes.
And more of like, well, this is a 80s watch with this brand that does this, that's that. Because that is like, wow, it's interesting.
Yeah. You know what was interesting was actually when I posted a photo of this Concorde just the other day, someone said, that looks like a Boucheron, you know? And I said, that's interesting. Let me look it up. And I said, it doesn't look like a Boucheron Carré. I think it might be a Boucheron Carré, right? Look at all the details.
Yeah, right.
I mean, they're very, very close. Okay, very close.
Oh, yeah.
So I said, that's interesting. So I said, one of two things happened. Either, one, Concorde stole the design from Boucheron, which is possible.
Yep.
But and I'm saying Concorde to Boucheron because Boucheron is older.
Yep.
So that's why I'm thinking that they probably invented the design.
That's cool.
But then I said, wait, it's too close. Boucheron would have more likely actually manufactured the watch for Concorde, and Concorde would have then distributed in a region that Boucheron did not. Which was very common of the era.
Yeah.
So like Concorde could have been the American distributor for this particular model that Boucheron just didn't market in America. Like that's how wild the watch world was back then. Like we talked about with the movements.
Yeah.
It's a different era.
It's a different time. And you know what? We're going back to that time.